Recently, the state of Delaware had another vehicle surplus auction, and they seem to hold these auctions every 6 to 8 weeks or so. The way these auctions work is that all the bidding is online. There's a one-day inspection period where you can go through the cars, start them up, plug in an OBD reader, basically go through everything short of driving the cars around the lot. And then the auction closes the following day. Now this time the state had 62, maybe 3 cars that they were auctioning off, which included a handful of really nice, really clean Crown Vics, as well as 3 Dodge Charger Pursuits. I went down to this auction specifically to try to pick up something fun to play with, as well as to help a buddy in Europe who wants to buy a Crown Vic here and import it there. But I went down to this auction skeptical. You see, I've been seeing a disturbing trend with auction prices, at least on Crown Vics, where they've been creeping up higher and higher and higher in prices, to the point now where a Crown Vic today at auction sells for roughly 50% more than what that same car would have sold for last year. Last year, I was able to buy cars for $1,200, $1,300, $1,400, $1,500, and those same cars are in the $2,000 range. Regardless, I went down to this auction, did the inspection, came up with some maximum bid amounts on the cars, given the condition, the mileage, the year, and frankly, the risk of buying at auction. But I also picked out 2 real oddball cars, 1 Vic and 1 Charger, that I wanted to share with you. Let me show you the cars that I looked at, the maximum bid amounts that I came up with, as well as those 2 oddball cars. And I'm curious to hear what you think about the bidding amounts and the prices on these cars and the condition of these cars. And if you would have kept bidding on these cars as well, or if you would have just wiped your hands clean like I did and saved your money for another day.
All right, here's that first oddball car I wanted to show you. When I first saw it, I thought it was just another confiscated car since it didn't really match what I'm used to seeing at these auctions. This is a 2014 with 95,000 miles, had deep tinted windows and aluminum wheels. I usually avoid confiscated cars for a bunch of different reasons, but as I got closer to this car, I saw it had police-style Eagle RSA tires. The paint and body was super nice, except for one small ding on the driver's side rear wheel arch. There was a little family dog sticker on the back window. The passenger side was just as nice as the driver's side. Front right tire was flat, and it looks like a knife puncture too. And given how muddy the sidewall was, I'm betting it was driven through the auction lot with that rim and tire. Inside, it was nicely spec'd as a civilian model Charger with a center console, tray, and push-button start, but it had the police-style column shifter. The interior was really clean. One of the center stack air vent louvers was mangled, and the back seat was vinyl. One of the C-pillar moldings was hanging down, and I'm betting the wiring for the police lights was routed through there. The engine started easily. The 5.7 liter sounded fine, although I'm not really familiar with these engines. Later that night, when I was coming up with a bid amount for this car, I struggled to find a comparable car and what it sold for. I likened this Charger to being a hidden gem, right? With having all the police upgrades but wrapped up in the civilian clothes. It's a lot like a Caprice PPV 9C3 I had, and I had set up my bidding price much like a really nice 9.3C would sell for. About an hour before the auction ended on this Charger, the bidding was stalled at $3,600. I was feeling good about this one, and I put my max bid amount of $5,100 in, and that would auto up whenever lesser bids were entered. 10 minutes later, I was outbid, and so I upped my max bid to $7,101. I was again outbid shortly after that. Now, if this was a Caprice 9C3, I figured it would sell in the $8,000 range, so I upped my max bid one more time to $8,000. Given the mileage, the risk, and how these engines are known to eat up cams and lifters, I didn't want to go any higher. Within the last 3 minutes of the auction, I was outbid, and the final bid amount ended at $8,501. So did I make the right call by walking away, or should I have kept bidding higher on this one? Was this car worth the extra money when a typical Charger Pursuit sells for a lot less? The second car I wanted to highlight is lot number 202, which is a 2006 Crown Vic with modest miles at 121,000. This one is what's probably my most favorite color. Ford called it by different names, but in 06 it went by Sonic Pearl Blue. This one is super clean. All the lines and gaps matched up perfectly. It had some white scuff on the front fenders, which I think was from the grease pencil. It had no door lock keys, which is ironic because I had the same problem with my 06 that I got from this auction 2 years ago. There were some light scratches in the paint on the door, but otherwise the driver's side was really nice. On the rear, the Police Interceptor badge usually gets removed from every one of these cars, except for this one. So I'm guessing somebody wasn't doing their job that day. No holes in the trunk lid, no buffer burn marks either. The passenger side was spotless, not even a ding. There were no holes or plugs in the roof too. Inside the interior, the seats were super clean. along with the steering wheel too. The engine started easily, sounded normal. The odometer was fading in and out, but I saw that it had an incredibly low 641 idle hours, when the rest of the cars here are usually in the 4,000 to 5,000 range. The Delaware State Police sticker on the gas door was scratched off, but the unit number sticker was still on the driver's door. Under the hood there was a new steering shaft, and everything else looked clean and sounded good. I was bidding on this car, and because it was a 06, I set my max bid at $1,650. In the past I've been able to buy cars like this for that amount or even less. An hour before the bidding closed, I was already outbid. It was me and 3 other bidders chasing after this gem, and so I upped my bid one last time to $1,900 and I walked away from the computer. When the auction closed, this car sold to another bidder for $2,000. I think if I upped my bid another time, I would have gotten into a bidding war for a 14-year-old car, although this was the Vic to get at this auction. So, I don't know, what do you think about this car, the condition, and what it sold for? This white Charger was a 2007, and with really low mileage at 61,000. The inside was more of a mess than what I'm used to seeing at this auction, but the real problem with this car was that it reeked of wet dog. There was a pretty cool flat-floored dog cage in the back, obviously, which included a night light in the ceiling. The rear bumper had some scuffing on it, but otherwise, the smell just kept me away. This car had a 3.5-liter V6, and between the engine and the condition, I was surprised that bidding ended way higher than what I expected at $3,351. This next Charger was a 2009 with nearly 190,000 miles. It had a flat tire on the front right, and it had a 2.7-liter engine. People rag on these engines, and when they first came out, they had a history of self-destructing, but in the later years, Chrysler apparently fixed those problems. One thing I can say, though, about this 2.7-liter is that it's liquid smooth, and, they have pretty decent power, but when you put them in a Charger, it's gutless. I figured this car was either a confiscated unit or maybe a unit used to run errands. Either way, I had no interest, and others must have felt the same way because bidding ended at $1,820. If you were looking for the newest model Vic with modest miles and at the best price, then lot 205 might have been the one to buy. It's a 2011, 114,000 miles. Idle hours, however, were on the high side at 6144. There was buffing compound that camouflaged a bunch of nicks in the paint. There was a spotlight, some door dings, a plug in the trunk and roof, and one headlight was faded more than the other. The interior was pretty decent. No dash warning lights. There was a tear in the vinyl flooring. There's a vinyl back seat and partition marks in the ceiling. Overall, though, it was a pretty decent car that sold for a nice price. Alright, let me give you a quick look at some of the other Vics at this auction, their condition and what they sold for, and you tell me what you think about the prices. Are these prices too high or about right? With good, clean Vics showing up at auction getting more and more rare, are prices going to continue to go up? Or are they going to start going back down to those stupid low wholesale prices from a year ago? Also, at the end of this video, I'll show you some of the other cool things that showed up at this auction and what they sold for as well.